Welcome to the Love Story with Lisa channel. Today, we're bringing you a brand new story. Spring Banquet. The Crown Prince and I had never gotten along since childhood. When I dug a hole, he would fill it in. When I wrote poetry, he would find faults. When I climbed a tree, he would shake it from below. If I struck him, he would run to report it. In short, he wanted to oppose me in everything. At 14, I painted 100 birds paying homage to the phoenix and presented it to the Empress. The Crown Prince stood with his hands behind his back, glanced at it, and said, "This quail assembly painting isn't bad." I was furious, grabbed the golden hairpin from my head, and chased him all over the Eastern Pavilion. The next day, he went to the Empress and told her that I was deeply in love with him, pursuing him without rest. I only needed to see him to feel annoyed. Well, this time, it would be interesting. Every day I had to meet with the eunuchs to receive imperial edicts, and eunuch Xianji still stood before everyone, who were all watching for my reaction. I sighed softly, said, "Thank you for the imperial favor," and held out my hand to receive the court's edict. Life from now on was not going to be easy. My wedding to the Crown Prince was set for after the Mid-Autumn Festival. Although there was still ample time, the mansion was already busy. My wedding clothes were prepared by Madame Tu, experienced in such matters, and my mother also took care of the arrangements. I felt somewhat redundant there. So I decisively changed into a simple male outfit, intending to climb the wall and watch a play. As I reached the foot of the wall, I suddenly heard the sound of fighting. I looked up and saw two dark figures dueling on top of the wall. They were fighting and cursing. Summoning all my courage, I hid under a tree and listened. The two of them were so engrossed in their fight that no one noticed me. So, it's the Crown Prince, sneaking into a minister's house in the middle of the night. How despicable. One figure said, "What despicable?" The other replied, "If the Prince of Ung didn't climb the wall, how could he have met me?" The first figure spat and cursed, "How could you compare yourself with me? I, the Prince of Ung, have shared a bond since childhood. Who doesn't know that now you're infatuated with the daughter of the Minister of Rights, cradling her like a precious gem, while you ignore Su Huangtai?" Hearing that, I quietly rolled my eyes in disdain at the two shadows, one a crown prince, the other a prince, fighting atop my wall in the dead of night. In retrospect, it was a bit excessive. But what they said was true. The three of us had grown up together. The Crown Prince was the Empress's biological son. The Prince of Ung's mother had passed away, so he had been raised under the Empress's care. The Empress was my mother's cousin, so I often visited the palace. Over time, I became familiar with both of them. Compared to the Crown Prince, who was always at odds with me, the Prince of Ung seemed gentler. He silently remembered my preferences, often giving me small, unusual toys to ease my boredom. When I was 14, he gave me a small rabbit. I was overjoyed and took meticulous care of it, but it still died. I cried inconsolably and eventually caught a cold. He knelt before the Empress, pleading for the imperial physician to treat me, and even stayed outside my hall all night. When I recovered, he looked at me with tear-red eyes and said, "Huangtai, I thought I'd never see you again." At that moment, I believed he loved me. 3 years ago, he suddenly befriended Feng Yuanru, the Minister of Right's legitimate daughter. I heard that Feng Yuanru had been seriously ill 3 years prior. After recovering, her personality had changed drastically. Once modest and timid, overnight she became assertive, claiming that everyone was equal, even trampling over her elder half-sister. She participated in poetry gatherings, and her compositions surpassed mine. From then on, she became a frequent visitor at the Prince of Ung's mansion. Every time I went to look for him, Feng Yuanru was there, timidly hiding behind him, her innocent doe-like eyes staring at me. Su Huangtai, don't you like me being here? If not, I can leave now, she said. Before I could speak, Xiao Jingyu interjected, no, Huangtai, she's always been very generous. Then he gently patted her head and turned to me. Seeing the two of them so close, I felt as if I had fallen into an ice pit. All the tenderness and care that had once belonged to me seemed stolen. I endured the ache in my chest, forcing a bright smile as always. Prince of Ung, you're joking, there's nothing between me and her. How could I not be generous? If your highness favors Miss Feng as a friend, I am happy for you, I said. This sudden estrangement made Xiao Jingyu frown. Instinctively, he asked, Huangtai, what do you mean by that? I didn't bother to explain and turned to leave. As he chased after me, a voice suddenly rang out from behind, this isn't good. Miss Feng has fainted. I stopped in my tracks and turned back. Xiao Jingyu looked awkward, unsure of what to do. After a moment, he decisively spun around, scooped Feng Yuanru into his arms, and ran outside. As he passed me, he even bumped into me slightly. I watched his retreating figure and let out a bitter laugh. This was the person I had secretly loved for so many years. Yet this affection, it had been placed in the wrong hands all along. From then on, I hid these feelings and never saw him again. Xiao Jingyu came to find me a few times, apologizing, though it was really just another form of reproach. He stood at the door of my small hall, his face pale, and said, Huangtai, she is gentle and soft-natured. She has no ability to contend for position against her. In the future, she will certainly be the main wife. Why must you be so forceful? I chuckled coldly. I am the legitimate daughter of the general. I don't need the title of crown princess. Whoever wants it can have it. From then on, I didn't see him again. Unexpectedly, after my marriage to the crown prince was decided, he climbed the wall into my house in the middle of the night. Was he going to persuade me to resist the imperial decree? Or regret this arranged marriage? Ridiculous, the two of them fought so fiercely it was hard to tell who would win. I sighed softly and stepped out from behind the tree, calling, stop fighting. If you ruin the wall, who will repair it? The crown prince turned his head toward me, nearly struck by Xiao Jingyu's blow. How dare you, Xiao Jingyu? Trying to ambush me, you petty scoundrel. He stumbled. And a tile fell to the ground. I put my hands on my hips and scolded, you're no better. That tile alone is worth 10 taels of silver. Xiao Jingyu, feeling proud as if backed by someone, grinned. See? Huangtai, you love me most. You should give up early. Then he leapt from the wall, knocking down 2 tiles that shattered into pieces. I jumped in fright. You owe me 10 taels of silver. I shouted, but before I could finish, they both grabbed my arms. My eyes widened in fear. What did their fighting have to do with me? I still wanted to live a few more years. The sounds of their battle soon drew the attention of the crown prince's guards. Taking the opportunity, Xiao Jingyu, with a single powerful strike, lifted me over the wall and left boldly. I turned back to look. In the pitch-black night, small flames quickly appeared, encircling Xiao Jingyu. It seemed trouble was coming for him. The crown prince snorted in dissatisfaction. I turned back and pouted. Feeling hurt for him? He asked. I sneered. He's not worth it. No need to feel heartbroken. He placed me on the ground with satisfaction. Then am I worth it? I glanced at him. You broke into a minister's house and kidnapped a gentle girl as a hostage. Do you think you're worth it? His expression darkened, feigning injury. Su Huangtai, you wrongfully accuse me. He exclaimed. I heard that Feng Yuanru was in a bad mood, so I wanted to bring her a gift, but Xiao Jingyu blocked me. I brightened up. A gift? Let me see it. He grinned smugly and pulled something wrapped in oiled paper from his robe. A sweet fragrance wafted up. I heard you like rabbits, so I bought you half of one. Still warm, he said. I stared in disbelief at the half-roasted rabbit in his hands. Xiao Jingming. You're dead meat. I chased after the crown prince for 2 miles. He ran while occasionally glancing back to see if I could catch up, his demeanor teasing and infuriating. Eventually, I exhausted myself and stopped, shouting in anger, Xiao Jingming. If I catch you one day, I will beat you to a pulp. He finally stopped, smiling. All right. Will you hit me now? I punched him twice in the chest. My fists rebounded slightly against his firm muscles. The sensation was strangely thrilling. Maybe I'd try 2 more punches. After venting our anger, we found a corner to sit and eat the roasted rabbit. Xiao Jingyu tilted his head at me. Is the rabbit meat good? Through tears, I said, very good. His eyes revealed suspicion. Then why did you hit me? I thought for a moment and said, I don't like rabbit anymore. And I never will. He seemed not to understand and scratched his head. Then next time I'll buy roast goose for you. How about that? I laughed despite my annoyance. Back at the mansion, Zhu Qing was on the bed. She jumped up angrily. Miss, finally you're back. Tonight, there were intruders trying to enter the house. Luckily, His Highness Xiao Jingyu stopped them, or we'd have been exposed long ago. I frowned. Was he caught? Zhu Qing shook her head. The Prince of Ung came to help deal with the thieves. He saw them climbing the wall and fought them off, but the thieves still escaped. Many servants and palace guards witnessed the scene. I crossed my arms, speechless. Xiao Jingyu spoke rapidly, trying to explain, Crown Prince, the thief. But the Crown Prince cut him off, acting like a righteous hero catching wrongdoers. Luckily, he didn't reveal anything, and after this incident, the guards became far more vigilant. The walls were no longer easy to climb. Xiao Jingyu had no choice but to behave, while Xiao Jingming, taking advantage of our betrothal, kept running to see me every 2 or 3 days. I found him extremely bothersome and often claimed to be ill just to avoid meeting him, only accepting the roast goose he brought. Spring had arrived, the perfect time to enjoy the flowers. Princess Anyang hosted a banquet, inviting young ladies from across the capital to her mansion. Of course, I was invited. But I hadn't expected Feng Yuanru to be there as well. She wore a red floral jacket, decorated with a butterfly motif and pearl embellishments, arm in arm with Xiao Jingyu. Her eyes and the curve of her brows revealed clear self-satisfaction. Not far away, under the trees, Feng Shuru, the legitimate daughter of the Feng family, was cornered. A group of elegantly dressed young ladies whispered and laughed. Look at the second Miss Feng, dressing so brightly. It's clearly to outshine her elder sister. See her posture? She might even surpass the princess herself, another said. The princess had invited all the noble ladies of the capital. Yet this second Miss Feng somehow dared to appear, seemingly unworthy of being there. Quietly, someone added, she's closely associated with the Prince of Ung. This is not something ordinary people can do. The laughter only made Feng Shuru more embarrassed. She lowered her head, adjusted her clothes, and walked toward Feng Yuanru and Xiao Jingyu, junior sister. Feng Shuru called out, then continued, both of us are women of the Feng family. Every word and action should reflect the Feng family's demeanor. You really shouldn't be so familiar with a man. Feng Yuanru lazily glanced at her. Elder sister, do you feel my actions are too forward, making you or the Feng family look bad? Feng Shuru bit her lip and whispered, I didn't mean that. Oh. And what exactly do you mean? Feng Yuanru scoffed. You feudal women, always going on about propriety between men and women, and hierarchy between first and second daughters. Clearly, it's just looking down on others. Let me tell you, everyone is equal. Don't think you can humiliate me. She finished speaking, then broke into tears, drawing a crowd that began mocking Feng Shuru. Seeing more and more people gathering, Feng Shuru couldn't hold back and ran off crying. Even Princess Anyang's expression darkened. The banquet was hers, yet Feng Yuanru completely ignored the princess and loudly caused a scene. Still, as a princess, she couldn't lower her own status to manage petty disputes. Among the women present, aside from royal ladies, my own rank was highest. Sitting there, drinking tea and watching the drama, I felt a chill run down my spine. Turning around, I met Princess Anyang's pleading gaze. It was too late to feign ignorance. I had no choice but to accept my fate. I stood up and walked toward Feng Yuanru. Seeing me approach, she froze like a frightened little bird, diving straight into Xiao Jingyu's arms. I forced myself to suppress my disgust and persuaded her. Third miss, what my elder sister just said wasn't wrong. You shouldn't make her uncomfortable in front of everyone. Moreover, Madame Feng is known for her virtue. Your clothing is elegant, perhaps even more so than your elder sister's. You should respond to that favor, not let the Feng family or wealth dictate your actions. Feng Yuanru snorted in disdain. All my attire and jewelry were gifts from His Highness the Prince of Ung. What does the Feng family have to do with it? Stop pretending to be virtuous here. Her words made me see red. I turned to Xiao Jingyu, my eyes carrying a warning. Trouble comes from the mouth. He understood the severity, bowed slightly, and said to Feng Yuanru, Nu Ni, quickly apologized to Su Huangtai and her elder sister. Feng Yuanru scowled, refusing. I turned to Princess Anyang. I had given her a chance, but if Xiao Jingyu and Feng Yuanru refused to respect the princess, I wouldn't hold back. The relationship between them and Princess Anyang was effectively over. Yet, at this moment, Feng Yuanru still didn't realize what was happening. Looking at me with a provocatively triumphant gaze, I sighed inwardly. Fool, fool. Sooner or later she'll find a way to ruin herself, and Xiao Jingyu too. But what does that have to do with me? Respect others' fate. Mind your own business. Around noon, Princess Anyang opened the banquet and invited everyone inside. I had only taken 2 sips of tea when dizziness and a spinning head hit me. So, along with Zhu Qing, I went by the lake to catch some breeze. Unexpectedly, halfway there, I ran into Feng Yuanru. Really unlucky, I muttered, turning to leave. Su Huangtai, isn't that you? Why are you turning away as soon as you see me? Feng Yuanru's voice twisted strangely. Jealous? Because I'm the only one His Highness the Prince of Ung loves? I barely restrained myself from grabbing her by the throat and dropping a duck down her throat to see if it sounded better. Seeing me remain silent, she grew even more arrogant. Su Huangtai, don't get too full of yourself. You think becoming the crown princess will let you sit on a golden bowl forever? Let me tell you, as long as the crown prince hasn't ascended the throne, no one can be certain who will hold the emperor's seat. I laughed to myself, not daring to respond. The princess's eyes were everywhere. There were far too many spies around. Feng Yuanru opened her mouth, spewing out rebellious words. I only wanted to distance myself a little to avoid trouble. Feng Yuanru caught sight of me and blocked my way. She leaned close to my ear, smirking. Do you know why His Highness dislikes you? No girl born of a royal family like you is interesting, too predictable, no schemes at all. Now, I'll show you what a true strategist is. Without warning, she grabbed my hand, yanked me a few times, shouted, and dove straight into the lake. Behind me, I heard Xiao Jingyu's panicked yell. He didn't even glance at me, just jumped in after her. The life and death struggle in the water played out like a grand drama. I shook my head, sighing. 2 fools. Your 9 clans are on the brink, yet here you are, confronting me. After half an incense stick of time, Xiao Jingyu finally managed to pull Feng Yuanru out of the water. She shivered violently from the cold. Spat out water, and even tugged at his sleeve. Your Highness, it's not Su Huangtai's fault. I was careless and fell, she sobbed uncontrollably. Watching her performance, I could only think, she's far too professional an actress. Xiao Jingyu, immediately distressed, draped his cloak over her shoulders, but then stormed up to me, furious. How could you be so cruel to her? She hasn't done anything to deserve this. I remained calm, saying nothing. Oh, what else can I do? But Your Highness, do you understand what she just said? She claimed you were plotting rebellion to seize the throne. I gasped, glancing at him. You don't need to be so arrogant, it was her own decision to jump. I started to leave, but Feng Yuanru suddenly crawled over and clutched my legs. Su Huangtai. Please. Spare me. I know I shouldn't compete for Your Highness with you, but my feelings for him are sincere. Before I could respond, Xiao Jingming appeared out of nowhere and kicked Feng Yuanru squarely in the face, muttering something under his breath. How dare she attack the future crown princess? Feng Yuanru screamed in pain. Xiao Jingyu frantically intervened, shouting, Crown Prince, Nuni is my beloved. How dare you mistreat her? Xiao Jingming looked at Feng Yuanru in disbelief. You call this beloved? With your hair all messy, soaked, crawling on the ground? I couldn't help laughing, but when I saw both the Crown Prince and the Prince of Ung staring at me, I forced myself to stop. I pursed my lips, stifling the laugh, my hands clenching my thighs. At that moment, I had to think of the saddest things in my life just to control myself, because Feng Yuanru had screamed so loudly. By the lake, a crowd had gathered, hiding behind fans and quietly laughing. Xiao Jingyu, clearly embarrassed, helped Feng Yuanru to her feet. Wait. Did I say she could go? The crown prince, hands clasped behind his back, spoke casually, but an undeniable aura of authority radiated from him. Xiao Jingyu was intimidated by his presence and spoke more softly. So, according to His Highness the Crown Prince, what should be done? Feng Yuanru has publicly disrespected and even touched the future crown princess in front of everyone. I decided to punish her by making her sit here for half an incense stick of time. Hardly too harsh, right? Hearing that she was about to be punished, Feng Yuanru began to sob uncontrollably. Just then, Princess Anyang arrived. Xiao Jingyu, embarrassed to interact with the princess, had no choice but to let it go. The banquet hadn't even ended yet, but the guests, seeing nothing interesting left, began clamoring to leave. Only Feng Yuanru was left alone, kneeling by the lake. I used the excuse of still being slightly drunk to wander through the garden at my leisure. Xiao Jingming, noticing I hadn't returned to the banquet, followed quietly behind. Thank you for earlier, I said, turning back to him. He pressed his lips together, smiling, a faint blush on his cheeks. Su Huangtai is the future crown princess. Helping her is the right thing to do. I glanced at his flushed face. Raising an eyebrow, I asked, that's all? He stammered, cleared his throat, clasped his hands behind his back, and tried to act composed. Of course, it was all very proper. I pretended to start walking again, but he grabbed my sleeve tightly. After a pause, he drew a deep breath. Today, Father and I were in the council chamber. I had just left the Imperial Library when someone reported that you were being harassed. I rode quickly to get here. Luckily, nothing serious happened to you, he said, then lowered his head, eyes avoiding mine, like a bashful little wife, so ridiculously easy to tease. I couldn't resist. I laughed and beckoned him with my fingers. He lowered his head, eyes wide with surprise, and obediently looked down. Even his ears were flushed. I picked up a fallen leaf from his head and waved it in front of him. He looked at the leaf in my hand and pouted. That's it? Nothing more? I glanced at him and laughed. Crown Prince, what on earth are you thinking? His face reddened as he stammered, and no, I wasn't thinking anything. Then he started walking toward the lake. I panicked, trying to hold him back. Crown Prince, there's a lake over there. Oh, I know, he said, then, without looking, ran straight into a tree. I laughed so hard I nearly died. Xiao Jingming quickly ran off, leaving only Zhu Qing and me behind. I walked, pondering his earlier words. He said someone reported that I was being harassed. Who could it have been? After thinking it over, the most likely culprit was Princess Anyang. She had instructed the Crown Prince to handle Xiao Jingyu and Feng Yuanru's harassment, while also using the pretext to rescue me so the Crown Prince would feel indebted to her, without angering either side. Truly a brilliant scheme. Princess Anyang was the only daughter of the late consort Zhang and the emperor's eldest child, thus greatly favored. She normally didn't involve herself in court disputes. Regardless of which prince ascended, she was the most honored princess and had no need to compete. Yet, at today's flower viewing banquet, Xiao Jingyu disregarded the princess entirely to humiliate Feng Yuanru. Now, even as a mere prince, he dared to flaunt his influence over Feng Yuanru so arrogantly. If he becomes emperor one day, I feared he wouldn't even consider the princess. Indeed, in her heart, Princess Anyang had quietly sided with the crown prince. Sure enough, 3 days later, in front of the emperor, she requested that I be granted the title of Countess of Qingping Commandery. Such a title could only be bestowed on daughters of the royal family. Princess Anyang merely mentioned my virtue and worthiness as an example to other women, without a word about the flower-viewing banquet. The ministers, seeing the announcement of my marriage to the crown prince, also took note and respected the decision. Even those ministers who had quietly supported Xiao Jingyu before were shaken. Seeing the situation, Xiao Jingyu refused to give up. He even began covertly trying to sway ministers to his side. I couldn't help but think, he's getting closer and closer to the edge of disaster. After the flower festival, the emperor and the princes went to Mingshan to hunt. I went along. Mingshan was the royal hunting ground. Spring and autumn hunts were held each year. In spring, with fewer wild animals, some pheasants, hares, foxes, and other creatures were released into the mountains. This time, a brown bear had been released. All the princes secretly competed to see who would hunt it first. The day passed. The crown prince and Xiao Jingyu had hunted the most, but the brown bear was nowhere in sight. I had never cared about such things and simply got up to leave the feast. After dinner, Xiao Jingming, seeing me leave, hurried after me carrying a black fox with extraordinarily soft fur. Su Huangtai. Look! Today I hunted a truly exquisite black fox. I'll make you a cloak from it, it will look beautiful on you. Seeing his silly, earnest expression, I couldn't help teasing him. You fool. I thought it only right that since he hunted such a fine prize, it should first be offered to Her Majesty the Empress, not me. Yet he stepped closer, smiling faintly. This. I saved it specially for you, he said. I gave him a side glance. Ah, so it was someone else's leftovers, tossed to me once they were done with it. I didn't respond, lifting my foot to walk away. 2 steps later, I turned back, but he was nowhere to be seen. Strangely, a flicker of anger rose in me. I had only been joking, yet this fool had the audacity to get mad at me. Humph. Well, fine. I was mad too. I bent down, picked up a dry branch, and smashed it into every patch of grass I saw, muttering under my breath. Xiao Jingming. Damn you, Xiao Jingming. How dare you ignore me? Just as I had felled a few tufts of grass, a figure appeared on the ground under the moonlight. I smiled to myself, pretending to be angry. Now you realize I can be provoked, huh? I turned. And froze. The person in front of me wasn't the crown prince, it was Xiao Jingyu. Instant revulsion surged through me. I frowned. What are you doing here? Standing beneath the moon, Xiao Jingyu's eyes revealed a trace of sorrow. In a soft voice, he said, Su Huangtai. You truly intend to marry the crown prince? He then reached out to touch my shoulder. Instinctively, I ducked, though his hand still brushed against my cloak. I hurried aside. Your Highness, please. Have some restraint. He immediately looked crestfallen. Su Huangtai. Why do you treat me like this? It was maddening. In the past, when I liked him, he treated me like I was nothing. Now, on the verge of my marriage to another, he dared to scold me? Pathetic. I smirked, teasing, yes, I like the Crown Prince. The Crown Prince likes me. So what's wrong with marrying him? He lowered his head, speechless for a moment, then grit his teeth. Fine. Then. Don't regret it. With that, he left without a trace of lingering attachment. I felt my blood boil again. Suddenly, someone tapped me lightly on the shoulder. I whirled around, furious, only to see Xiao Jingming standing there, holding a handcrafted wreath and smiling. Su Huangtai, look what I made for you. This wreath is one of a kind. Even my mother doesn't have one, he said. I looked at the wreath in his hands, and part of my anger instantly melted away. He had run off earlier just to make this for me? I asked. He nodded, holding it out for me to see. See, Su Huangtai? My hands got scratched just from picking the flowers for this, he said. I looked down, and sure enough, there were 2 fresh scratches on his hands. My heart ached a little. Does it hurt? I lifted his hand, intending to blow on the scratches to soothe him, but halfway through, I froze. Why was I feeling so concerned for Xiao Jingming? Wasn't I supposed to despise him? I shook my head, silently letting go of his hand. He frowned, wrapping his arms around me. Su Huangtai. Do you not like me? My heart was in turmoil. I didn't know how to answer, so I pressed on ahead, leaving him silent behind me. After a while, he gently placed the wreath on my head. His voice carried a hint of disappointment. Su Huangtai. Even if you don't like me, it doesn't matter. As long as I like you, that's enough. I believe that one day, you'll look at me too. I stopped, looking up at him. Under the vast, starry sky, the young man in his white long robe stood tall and sincere. For the first time, I realized Xiao Jingming was quite handsome. How had I never noticed before? Perhaps because he owed me so much. I nodded to myself quietly. Actually, it wasn't that I didn't like him. My heart was in chaos. My hands clenched the handkerchief, unsure what to say, when suddenly a force pushed me. Su Huangtai, careful. I stumbled and fell to the ground. Looking up, I saw a giant creature in front of me, raising its front paw over Xiao Jingming's shoulder, a bear. I screamed in shock. It had noticed us and charged straight toward me. Su Huangtai, run. Xiao Jingming scrambled to his feet, grabbed me, and pulled me up, fleeing. The bear chased relentlessly. We ran until we were gasping for breath. Why? Why is it able to see us? Isn't it supposed to be blind? I panted. Xiao Jingming squeezed my hand reassuringly. Don't be afraid. I'm here. I won't let it hurt you. No sooner had he spoken than I suddenly felt the ground vanish beneath my feet. I screamed. Xiao Jingming hastily pulled me into his arms, but it was too late. We tumbled together down the hillside. The wind screamed past our ears, leaves and twigs crackling beneath us. I was held tightly in a warm embrace, yet still felt the sting of pain. Until we landed with a tremendous thud, it seemed we had collided with something, and finally, we came to a stop. A low, heavy groan reached my ears. I hurriedly got up, checking him under the faint moonlight. Xiao Jingming's lips were streaked with blood. Panic surged through me. I wrapped him tightly in my arms, my voice trembling. Xiao Jingming. Xiao Jingming. Are you all right? In the darkness, he cleared his throat softly. I'm fine, Su Huangtai. Don't worry. It was too dark around us to inspect his injuries properly, and my heart burned like fire. After a few moments, I forced myself to calm down. The urgent matter now was to get back to camp. Once there, we could summon the imperial physician to treat him. But where were we now? I looked up and saw a cliff ahead, not very high, but given our current state, climbing it was impossible. We had no choice but to find another way. I checked Xiao Jingming's body. Thankfully, there were no severe bleeding wounds. I helped him to his feet and asked gently, "How are you feeling? Can you walk?" He rested his head on my shoulder, his voice faint and hoarse. Yes. I fumbled under the trees and found a sturdy stick for him to lean on. Slowly, we moved forward. How long we traveled, I had no idea, until finally, we found a small shelter. Tonight, it seemed, we had no choice but to stay here. I gently set him down, reaching to remove his outer coat, but he stopped me. Don't remove it. I'm fine, he panted, clearly struggling. I sensed something was off. The more he resisted, the more I knew something was wrong. Xiao Jingming. If you don't let me see your injuries now, next time, I won't bother at all, I murmured. Only then did he relent. I carefully removed the coat and slowly slid my hand inside. A faint, unfamiliar scent reached my nose. My hand grew wetter and wetter as I probed further. My heart leapt. He was more seriously injured than I realized. Could he die? A tidal wave of fear washed over me, and tears streamed down my face. Hearing my sobs, he drew me close, pressing the tip of his nose to my ear, his voice soft. Su Huangtai. Don't cry. Crying makes you look bad. I choked on my tears. Even now, he could speak such words. He forced a pained smile, because I was the person he loved most, and he wanted me happy, not sad. I held him tightly, then recover, and I won't cry anymore. But if you die, I'll grieve for the rest of my life. His arms tightened around me, and he kissed my neck gently, tear by tear, leaving a chill on my skin. Su Huangtai. If it comes to that, then I would die willingly, he whispered. We stayed entwined through the night. I repeatedly checked his breathing. Only then did I understand why I had feared losing him so much. I truly loved him. As dawn gradually broke, I carefully dressed his wounds. Only then did I realize how extensive they were. His shoulders, back, and even his legs were injured. He couldn't walk properly. It seemed we would have to remain in this temporary shelter for a few more days. Once he was bandaged, I stepped outside to gather some wild fruit. Xiao Jingming had served in the army before and knew which fruits were safe and which were poisonous. I picked a few fruits similar to those he had collected before and returned. Reluctantly, it would at least sustain us. As night fell, fearing he might catch a cold, I removed my own coat and draped it over him. A strange scent drifted to my nose. I sniffed carefully, discovering the scent came from my own coat, an odd, lingering smell of the blind bear. I suddenly remembered the day Xiao Jingyu and I had been ambushed by the brown bear. He had reached out and touched my shoulder then, though I hadn't noticed at the time. Now it made sense. Why had the brown bear appeared near our camp that night? How had it tracked us so precisely in the dark? Although its vision was poor, its sense of smell was acute enough to track scents miles away. Realization hit me like ice. Xiao Jingyu had deliberately smeared something on my coat to attract the bear. He wanted to kill me and Xiao Jingming. A cold sweat ran down my spine. I had assumed the worst outcome with Xiao Jingyu was merely estrangement. I had never imagined he could be so cruel, but if he had acted intentionally, then I no longer needed to hold back any lingering feelings for him. I hurriedly put my coat back on and held it to my chest. Xiao Jingming. Tomorrow, I'll go ahead and scout the path. Wait here for me to return home. His eyes darkened suddenly, and his voice choked slightly. It's all right. You go. Did he think I no longer needed him? My heart felt as if it were gripped by an invisible hand, squeezing tighter and tighter, sending a jolt of pain through me. I held him close, speaking gently. Xiao Jingming, I won't leave you behind. I'll go find someone to rescue you. Do you trust me to return safely? He nodded silently, without a word. At dawn, I went outside and gathered a large pile of wild fruits, stacking them in the mountain cave like a small mountain. Before leaving, I stroked Xiao Jingming's head. Don't run off, I instructed. Stay here and wait for me to return. Then I took the coat with me. On it was proof of Xiao Jingyu's plot to harm the crown prince, though the scent wouldn't last long. I had to return to the camp as soon as possible. Moreover, this scent could attract the brown bear again, so I needed to keep Xiao Jingming safe. I ran to the cliff where Xiao Jingming and I had fallen. It wasn't very high, but with my current state, climbing it required all my strength. Risking it, I put on my coat and began to climb the cliff barehanded. I fell many times, my nails dug into the rock and broke, bleeding. Tears stung my eyes from the pain, but I gritted my teeth and continued. I knew Xiao Jingming was waiting for me, and I had to return alive. Finally, on the 5th attempt, I reached the top. Overjoyed, I quickly removed the coat, hugging it to my chest, and ran straight toward the camp. I ran for what felt like an eternity, until finally the camp came into view. At that moment, a growl came from behind. A brown bear. Not far off, 2 Imperial guards were patrolling. I stumbled as I ran, shouting, "Stop! I am the eldest daughter of Prime Minister Su, future Crown Princess. Help me!" Hearing my cries, the guards rushed forward. One of them pulled me onto a horse. I sat atop, glancing back, and saw the guards fiercely battling the brown bear. The royal guards, trained rigorously, subdued the bear swiftly. Relief flooded me. I was finally safe. I told the guards on horseback, "Take me quickly to see the emperor." Inside the emperor's tent, I knelt on the ground, crying and recounting the truth, how Xiao Jingming and I had been attacked by the brown bear. The emperor immediately ordered guards to rescue the crown prince based on my words. I led the way for the guards. Half a day later, Xiao Jingming was finally brought back. The emperor summoned all the imperial physicians. They gathered around him silently, including the imperial physician, renowned for his exquisite medical skills. Initially, the imperial physician focused solely on the crown prince's wounds, but after a moment, he frowned at me. "County mistress, there seems to be a scent on this coat. May I examine it?" I nodded and removed the coat, handing it over. Instantly, everyone's attention was drawn, even the emperor frowned. The imperial physician laid the coat on a rock, and then, kneeling, reported respectfully, "Your Majesty, I have something to report." "May I speak?" The emperor gestured for everyone else to leave the tent, leaving only the imperial physician and himself. I stood outside, waiting for the emperor to summon me back. As expected, a moment later, I was called in. As I knelt, a glass ornament was tossed to the ground. "Narrowly missing me, Miss Su Huangtai," the emperor said, his voice full of anger. "I've treated your family well. Why would you attempt to harm the crown prince?" Hearing this, Xiao Jingming struggled to stand, weakly saying, "Father, Su Huangtai would never harm me. There must be some misunderstanding." The emperor still glared at me, stern and demanding. "A misunderstanding, you say? Very well. Tell me exactly what happened that day. If you lie, you will be executed immediately." I recounted everything in detail, the bear attack, encountering Xiao Jingyu, and especially when he touched my shoulder. I spoke carefully, with deep meaning. As I did, the emperor's face darkened. His gaze deep and sharp. Knowing the emperor's suspicious nature, I suspected he might already believe me. Indeed, after I finished, his expression softened considerably. Seeing this, Xiao Jingming quickly explained, "Father, Su Huangtai has promised to marry me as crown princess. If anything were to happen to me, she would gain nothing. Moreover, their feelings for each other grow stronger each day. She would never plot against me." The emperor looked at me, then raised his hand. "Very well. Step aside for now. I wish to speak with the crown prince." I bowed and stepped back, waiting. Once the emperor left, I quietly slipped into the crown prince's tent to meet him. Surprisingly, when he saw me, he had no intention of greeting me. Instead, he turned and presented his back to me. I felt a mix of frustration and amusement, so I lightly patted his back. "Does it hurt?" "Show me the wound," I asked with concern. He swatted my hand away, offended. "Go find Xiao Jingyu." "Why are you here?" "Oh. Are you jealous?" I laughed loudly. Suddenly, he turned and grabbed my face, his anger flashing in his eyes. "You're still laughing? You actually dare to laugh?" I had been smiling, but now, seeing him fume, I quickly stopped and held his hand. Explaining, "It's not your fault. You just left me alone that day, and I ran into Xiao Jingyu. That's what caused it." He was furious, but my words halted him, and all he could do was scowl. "Someday, you'll drive me mad." I patted his head, speaking seriously, "No more joking. Listen carefully. I believe Xiao Jingyu's approach to me that day had only one purpose. He intended to harm us." I recounted the afternoon's events, analyzing Xiao Jingyu's motives in detail. He tilted his head, listening intently. When I finished, he suddenly asked, "Then, between me and Xiao Jingyu, who do you prefer?" I snapped, irritated. "Ugh. Really? You're focused on that now?" I thought to myself. Everything I just told him, and he's completely ignoring it. Unexpectedly, he clutched his chest, groaning, "Ouch. Su Huangtai, you hit my wound. It hurts so much." I gawked. He had just hit his own head slightly, then paused to cover it. "Ah, my head. It's spinning." "Su Huangtai, help me press it a little," he whimpered. Instinctively, I helped him, letting his head rest on my lap. His expression was slightly dazed. Suddenly, I felt a surge of irritation. I wanted to scold him, but I held his hands firmly to restrain myself. You weren't like this before. Where did you learn these things? I asked. He blushed, biting his lip. I learned from the favored attendants of Princess Anyang. I couldn't help laughing and scolding the crown prince, following attendants to learn tricks. You want to be spoiled too? He hugged me shyly, whispering, I want to be spoiled by you, Su Huangtai. I tried to restrain the mischievous smile forming at the corner of my mouth. We'll see how well you behave from now on, I teased. The next day, the emperor immediately ordered the end of the spring hunt. A few days later, news arrived that Xiao Jingyu had been summoned to the palace. According to the servants' accounts, the emperor was furious. He even smashed a teacup on Xiao Jingyu's head. Xiao Jingyu knelt, head bleeding, not daring to speak a word. I realized the emperor had surely investigated the attempted assassination of the crown prince. Out of paternal care, he hadn't publicly punished Xiao Jingyu. Even so, Xiao Jingyu had lost the emperor's favor, his influence waning. In contrast, Xiao Jingming continued to fulfill his duties diligently, caring for the people, earning high praise from the emperor. If it weren't for his habit of sneaking into my courtyard, I might have thought him a proper crown prince. Yet, one day, he jumped over the wall to sit outside my courtyard, imitating a bird call. Confused, I asked, you could enter through the main gate, so why climb the wall every time? He brushed dust off himself and smiled. It's because of you. It would be too bothersome otherwise. I tapped him lightly. Tell me the truth. He pouted, shivering. I want to see you every day, but I'm afraid others will mock me. People say a pampered crown prince cannot live without his lady. Wouldn't it be better this way? I smiled, satisfied, and handed him a small red pouch decorated with a dragon motif. Inside were small charms for protection. I had prayed at the temple for several days before sewing them in. Practical and lucky. Xiao Jingming took it happily, stepping forward with a smile. Why didn't you embroider a phoenix on it? I glared at him. A phoenix? Then everyone would laugh at you. He thought for a moment, then asked me to tie the pouch around his neck. Normally, I'll hide it under my clothes. No one will see it. I imagined tying the string around his neck. A dog? I teased. He glared at me furiously. I stared back, pretending to ignore him. Immediately, he leaned close, whispering in my ear, all right, don't be angry. I'm your little puppy. I couldn't help laughing. A crown prince like this, how could the country survive? Days passed, and summer arrived. For an entire month. It rained incessantly. The Yellow River overflowed, flooding countless fertile fields and forcing villagers to relocate. The emperor ordered disaster relief, sending hundreds of thousands of taels of silver and ordering local authorities to open grain stores. But half of it was lost in the floods, and the suffering continued. Some people starved. The emperor, furious, commanded the crown prince to assist the affected towns. While investigating Kamzhou, he became entangled in another major scandal. The governor of Kamzhou had illegally opened an iron mine. The crown prince understood the gravity of the situation and immediately reported to the emperor instead of acting independently. Oddly, this governor was a distant relative of the Feng family. The official permit to operate the mine even bore Xiao Jingyu's seal. The mine had been running for 3 years, and the fate of all the extracted iron was unknown. Once the matter was discovered, the emperor was furious and ordered Xiao Jingyu's immediate arrest. Unexpectedly, Xiao Jingyu refused to confess, loudly complaining. He claimed he knew nothing about the matter, shifting all the blame onto Feng Yuanru, saying that she had stolen his seal. But because he had spoiled her excessively, he had failed to notice anything amiss. Hearing this, the emperor did not punish Xiao Jingyu any further. Instead, he quickly turned his attention to the Feng family, preparing to sentence over 200 members to execution. I felt a vague unease. Something about this was off. If Feng Yuanru had really been behind this, Xiao Jingyu's reaction had been far too quick. The emperor, usually so cautious and suspicious, had condemned the Feng family without questioning anyone first. It was extremely strange. Determined to clarify my doubts, I went to the prison to meet Feng Yuanru. She grasped my hand, crying, remorseful. Su Huangtai, it was my fault before. Today. If I tell you the truth, will you believe me? I nodded. Go ahead. Tell me. She lifted her head toward the prison's skylight, speaking slowly. I originally came from the 21st century, a time far in the future. By chance, I was transported here. I thought I was a noblewoman of the Tianqi family and believed I could shine here with my advanced knowledge. The poems I composed. They were mostly copied. I just wanted to be recognized as the most talented young woman in the capital, a reputation I could use for marriage prospects. Then Xiao Jingyu approached me, claiming he loved me, saying that when he became emperor he would make me empress. I trusted his words and treated you as a phantom enemy, opposing you everywhere. Later, he used my connections to bring my father under his control, promising him and the governor of Kamzhou great benefits, allowing them to mine iron freely. He said that once he became emperor, my father and the others would become founding ministers, enjoying endless wealth. Blinded by greed, my father and the others agreed to help him seize the throne. Later, Xiao Jingyu sent a trusted aide to manage the mines. A huge quantity of ore was shipped out every year, and even we didn't know its final destination. My father believed that if anything went wrong, Xiao Jingyu would at least shield him. If not, they could take him down together. But the emperor never investigated and immediately believed Xiao Jingyu, rushing to punish us. Su Huangtai, I was wrong. Truly wrong, Feng Yuanru cried, trembling. I didn't even manage to become a royal consort. I nearly died. I thought I was the main character in this world, but I forgot that I am just an ordinary person here, surrounded by plots. My foolishness dragged me in, and I was deceived, made a pawn in their schemes. Su Huangtai, you must be careful. That vile Xiao Jingyu. You must take revenge for me. You must kill him. I watched Feng Yuanru scream and wail, her anguish shaking her completely in the prison cell. Mixed emotions churned inside me. Perhaps this was the last time I would see her. That night, news came that Feng Yuanru, fearing punishment, had committed suicide. I had anticipated it, but hearing it still made my heart thud with shock. Xiao Jingyu. He was far more ruthless than I imagined. In contrast, Xiao Jingming was pure and upright. Could he truly defeat Xiao Jingyu? The next day, when Xiao Jingming arrived, I hugged him from behind. Honestly, I hadn't really cared about becoming empress. Later, a normal married life would have been enough. I only wished for his safety and health. Xiao Jingming turned and held me, smiling. What nonsense are you talking about? Who said I wouldn't let you become empress? I pouted, tears brimming. Even if Xiao Jingming didn't compete, we might not survive otherwise. I wiped my tears and hugged him tightly. Xiao Jingming, I want to stay by your side forever. Right now, we are together, he replied. No, I mean together in life, not just here. I was so frustrated I kicked the table. All my feelings, wasted. For days, I ignored him. Finally, he could no longer endure and quietly approached. Su Huangtai, don't worry. My father is no fool, he said gently. I frowned. What do you mean? He smiled wryly. It's complicated. I can't explain everything to you in detail. But I promise, I will always protect you, the Su family, and myself. So please. Trust me, just like you always have. At that moment, I felt a profound sense of relief. I sniffled, leaning into him softly. Okay, I trust you. But you must take care of yourself. Not a single hair on your head can be harmed, understand? He patted my shoulder, soothing me gently. All right, I will follow your lead in everything, I said. A few days later, the Feng family and the governor of Kamzhou were utterly annihilated. Over 400 people from the two households were dragged to the city gates and executed over 3 days and 3 nights. During those days, even the wind in the capital carried the scent of blood. The citizens were terrified, hiding indoors every day, too afraid to go outside, yet Xiao Jingyu remained unscathed. In fact, he regained the emperor's favor. Only a few days later, accusations were leveled against the crown prince, claiming he had failed to provide relief during the natural disaster. A list of charges was drawn up, and the emperor, enraged, deposed the crown prince and removed him from the eastern palace, sending him south to Nanyuan. When I received the news, it felt as if the sky itself were collapsing. I could not go to Nanyuan, and neither could Xiao Jingming. I spent several nights crying, filled with shock and fear. He had always been accustomed to luxury. Would he be scared as a prisoner? Would he be bullied? Would he despair? The more I thought, the more terrified I became. Every day, I squatted outside the gates of Nanyuan, hoping for any news. On the 3rd day, a paper kite suddenly flew over the high wall. It looked like a tiny swallow. I stared at it in astonishment for a long moment, then suddenly understood. A few days earlier, Xiao Jingming had read a poem to me during the spring festival banquet, bowing 3 times to heaven and making 3 vows. First, for Lord Ling to live long. Second, for my beloved to remain healthy. Third, for us to always be together, year after year, like the Wan and Shang Yan. I tilted my head, looking at the paper kite in the sky, brushing tears from my face. I understood his intent now. I would not be afraid anymore. There was still time for us. I trusted him to return to me. When I returned to the mansion, I was shocked to find Xiao Jingyu there. He was accompanied by eunuch Xian Ji, the same eunuch who had delivered the imperial edict to me and the crown prince before. In a twist of fate, this time I was being forced to become the consort of Xiao Jingyu. I knelt on the ground, my mind reeling, barely registering the words the eunuch read aloud. I only knew that I was being forced into an absurd marriage. Truly, utterly absurd. When the eunuch finished, I remained on the ground, stunned. Xiao Jingyu stepped forward and took my chin in his hand, grinning mischievously. What's wrong? Su Huangtai. Didn't you like me the most? Now that we're about to wed, you're not happy? I clenched his hand tightly, my nails digging into his skin, yet I felt no pain. His grip was stronger. Su Huangtai, disobedience carries consequences, don't you know? He said. I closed my eyes, my throat tight, and whispered through clenched teeth, I accept the imperial decree. Finally satisfied, Xiao Jingyu released me, smiling. That's my Su Huangtai. From now on, you don't need to leave the mansion. Just stay obediently at home and wait to be married to me. He threw back his head and laughed triumphantly, striding toward the door. My heart clenched. From the moment of receiving the imperial decree, I was locked in the mansion. Xiao Jingyu often visited, but I, lazy and stubborn, feigned illness to avoid him. Though some ailments were real, I used them as an excuse to remain distant. When bored, I would sit at the table, copying the spring banquet poems over and over. Half a month later, the emperor suddenly fell gravely ill. Xiao Jingyu was too busy to manage me personally. I looked out the window, sensing that, with the circumstances so unstable, everything was about to change. Days passed in chaos. Zhu Qing came running to me, tears streaming, crying, war. Outside, everywhere, there's slaughter, mountains of corpses, rivers of blood. I heard that Xiao Jingyu has rebelled. I paused, pen in hand, pulling my fox fur cloak around me, muttering as I wrote, there's nothing to fear, just secure the gates. I had long suspected that Xiao Jingyu would rebel. The iron mine in Camzhou had been operated for 3 years, and all the ore had vanished. Investigations revealed that the governor had sold it. Absurdly enough, the iron could be used not only for tools but for weapons. Xiao Jingyu's rebellion had been plotted 3 years in advance. He had meticulously worked toward today. Now, with the emperor seriously ill and the crown prince deposed, it was the perfect opportunity to seize the throne. Those who become arrogant at their peak often reveal their weaknesses, and Xiao Jingyu was no exception. Seeing that I remained silent, Zhu Qing cried more desperately. Miss, what should we do? If His Highness Xiao Jingyu kills the emperor, will he spare us? I didn't panic. I picked up my brush and drew. Zhu Qing, look at this painting. I sketched a praying mantis stalking a cicada, with a golden oriole perched behind it. Do you see? This is perfect, isn't it? Zhu Qing didn't understand my meaning and cried even more. A few days later, news from the palace confirmed it. Xiao Jingyu had seized control of the entire imperial court. Only one step remained, forcing the emperor to issue the edict and ascend the throne. Proud and satisfied, he received me into the palace. I arrived to find him standing in the center of the golden hall. The man dressed in the dragon robe laughed like a madman. The moment he saw me, he grabbed my hand and grinned wildly. Look, Su Huangtai. See? I've succeeded. Victory is finally mine. I furrowed my brows, thinking, Xiao Jingming. What is he planning now? He continued, soon, I'll capture him and castrate him to be your servant. Will you allow it? I obediently stood still, frowning. Your Majesty. If you desire it, anything can be achieved, I said carefully. He threw his arms wide, laughing maniacally. Excellent. Very well spoken. I hereby decree you as Empress. Tonight, we shall celebrate our grand wedding. I pursed my lips and quickly interjected, "Your Majesty, wait. The Emperor has not abdicated yet. The title is improper, and the words are against protocol. The Empress is my mother's younger sister. Perhaps if we allow her to advise the Emperor, she could achieve something significant. May I attempt to persuade her once?" Xiao Jingyu considered for a moment and nodded. "Su Huangtai, what you say is right. We'll follow your advice." Half an hour later, I escorted the Empress into the Emperor's private chamber. He lay on the bed, feigning the appearance of a dying man. I ordered everyone else to leave. When only the three of us remained, I leaned toward the Emperor and whispered, "Stop pretending. Lead us to the secret chamber now." The Emperor suddenly opened his eyes, full of vitality. "Secret chamber? What secret chamber? I know nothing." The Empress gave him a swift kick in the thigh. "You old fox, still playing tricks? Careful or I'll hit you." The Emperor leapt from the bed, scanning the room. "I must take her too," he said, pointing at me while holding his leg. The Empress kicked him again. "Your daughter-in-law isn't even necessary, apparently. We'll see what you say to your son tomorrow when you return," she said. The Emperor glanced at me and reluctantly waved. Fine, everyone, come in." For 5 days, we hid in the secret chamber. Outside, the sounds of battle and agonized cries never ceased, twisting my heart in worry for Xiao Jingming, my parents, and Zhu Qing. The Empress, seeing my anxiety, gently reassured me, "Do not fear. He will protect your family well." I nodded, tears streaming down my face. On the 6th day, silence fell outside. Suddenly, the stone door of the secret chamber opened. Xiao Jingming, clad in silver armor, stood at the entrance. He looked every bit like a god descending from the heavens. I ran to him, crying, tears falling like pearls, unable to speak the 1,000 words that filled my heart. He gently patted my back. "It's all right, Su Huangtai. Don't fear. It's over now." I later learned that after being imprisoned on the 5th day, Xiao Jingming had left the city with the tiger tally, heading to the main army camp in the outskirts of the capital. There, with 2 generals, he annihilated all rebel forces outside the city within 3 days. On the 4th day, the city gates were opened. Xiao Jingming's troops advanced rapidly, taking control of the capital and storming the palace. By the time Xiao Jingyu realized what was happening, it was too late to save the situation. Xiao Jingyu was captured alive, while the rebel generals under his command were all executed, because of the emperor's affection for father and son. He allowed Xiao Jingyu to live, granting him a poisoned cup as a form of mercy. I visited Xiao Jingyu in the prison. He sat on the floor, hair disheveled, eyes empty, looking no different from a corpse. Only when he saw me did he manage a weak smile. "Su Huangtai. You've come to see me one last time, haven't you? You still have me in your heart, right?" His eyes pleaded for mercy. "Yes," I said, approaching him and holding his hand. I kissed Xiao Jingming on the cheek. Then, on the other side, I kissed him again. Xiao Jingyu, caught off guard, didn't have time to recover his composure. Eventually, he looked at me, scowling. "Su Huangtai, must you give me such humiliation? I'm about to die." I met his gaze coldly. "This disaster is entirely your doing. You were too obsessed with your ambitions. Originally, I belonged to you, but you abandoned me for your grand plans. You also ignore the care and kindness of the Empress. You're utterly cold-blooded. And Xiao Jingming. You, my brother, who grew up with him, treated him well. Yet you treated him like this? I continued. You had wives, siblings, parents. Yet time and again, you abandoned all for your unrealistic greed. It was he who had ruined everything. Xiao Jingyu suddenly burst into laughter, his face twisted with greed and malice. What is greed? I am a prince. I desire the throne. Does that make me greedy? How can you accuse me of wanting more than my due? You cannot understand my suffering. As a secondary son, my mother never supported me. I fought for myself. What's wrong with that? I shook my head. Do you know that when you initiated the rebellion, the Western and Southwestern bandits seized the opportunity to invade and occupy territories? Even pirates in the East started paying attention. You have no concern for the common people. How can you be a good king? He sneered. You say I'm a secondary son, yet the Empress is also a second daughter in her family. She rose to her position through her exceptional talent and virtue. So clearly, the Emperor has never cared for primary or secondary sons. The ministers who support the Crown Prince do so because he governs with righteousness and cares for the people. During summer floods of the Yellow River, the Crown Prince personally oversaw disaster relief, gaining the respect of the commoners. But your subordinates, what are they doing? They misuse your banners to distribute food improperly, causing suffering for the people. This is how you rule the country? Don't speak further. Stop, I said. I don't want to hear it. Xiao Jingyu squatted on the ground, clutching his head, crying pitifully. All right. It's execution time. Let's go. Xiao Jingming pulled my hand. I cast one last glance at Xiao Jingyu. The one I loved so sincerely. It's a pity you were not worthy. As we left the prison, a cold wind swept past, and I shivered. Xiao Jingming draped his coat over me and rubbed my head. Silly girl, you're wearing so little. You must be cold. I rested my head on his shoulder, smiling. It's all your fault. Autumn had arrived. In a few days, it would be my wedding day with Xiao Jingming. My mother invited 2 palace mama to teach me the proper etiquette in the palace. I was lazy. I've known all the etiquette for a long time. Do I really need to study it again? Zhu Qing placed her hand over mine and whispered, Miss, this is the ritual of the inner chambers. Ah, I see, I said, and resolved to study diligently. After a few days, I gained confidence and pulled Zhu Qing aside. Go make me 2 dice. I want them like this and this. Follow my instructions, understand? On the wedding day, Xiao Jingming lifted the veil covering my eyes. Shyly, he looked at me and lifted my face, wanting to kiss me. I pushed him away, pulling 2 dice from my chest. Crown Prince, want to play a little game to spice things up? Xiao Jingming's face suddenly flushed. All right, he said softly. I shook the dice, grinning mischievously. Loser removes 1 piece of clothing after each round. Xiao Jingming suddenly shouted, no more. I've lost so much, there's nothing left. Yet I hadn't removed a single piece. I evaluated him from head to toe, took a sip of water, and whispered in his ear, now let's change the rules. Whoever loses gets their hands and feet bound. Let's see how you like that. Xiao Jingming smirked, raised his eyebrows, and agreed. I bound him and threw him onto the bed. He struggled, shouting, "No. We can't, this is too much." I leaned down, tracing a finger from his chin to his neck. Who says we can't proceed? Xiao Jingming seemed to suddenly understand and gasped. Huh. The bed was a carved wooden frame, the tassels at the four corners swaying like butterflies in the wind. The night breeze was cold, and the full moonlight spilled into the room, casting a glow over the flowers outside the window. The next morning, I was still asleep when the figure beside me stirred. I opened my eyes slowly to see Xiao Jingming glaring at me. I caressed his cheek. What is it, Crown Prince? He twisted his body, displeased. Su Huangtai, can you release me? It's almost afternoon. If I'm late, father will scold me. I thought for a moment. All right, and untied the ropes. Suddenly, I sensed a surge of danger. Before I could react, he spun me onto the bed, a wicked smile on his lips. Su Huangtai, don't forget, we're married now. The emperor has granted me leave, he whispered, pressing his head to my neck and kissing me. 7 years later, the emperor passed away. Xiao Jingming ascended the throne, proclaiming me empress. That day, I was in the study teaching the children. I didn't notice when Xiao Jingming sneaked into the corner, hiding, and the emperor? I muttered. Still has to obey me, of course, he replied. The 3 children stood straight against the wall. Trembling. I grabbed a piece of calligraphy from the table, clenching my teeth in frustration. Look at this cursed writing, it's even worse than father's. Why does none of you inherit even a bit of my skill? The crown prince trembled weakly. Mother, last time you said Dan Qing's work resembled yours from back then. I thought for a moment, then nodded. Yes, that one is indeed good, it does resemble mine. The second princess pouted. Mother, you can't do this. When we do good things, we resemble you. But when we do bad things, we resemble father. Father is truly pitiful. Su Huangtai, what am I to do now? He whimpered, I grinned. Do something useful, go fetch another child. And with that, I grabbed him by the collar and dragged him toward the bridal chamber. End of story. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like and subscribe to Love Stories with Lisa for more stories. Thank you so much.